So we're revisiting the Warhammer here. Battletech enthusiasts, working our way through some iconic mechs. I mean, I think Battletech, and I think of the Longbow. I think of the Battlemaster. I think of the Marauder. I think of the Ost Scout, the Ost War on there, the Rifleman, the Warhammer. And the challenge with these mechs being Inner Sphere, being kind of that first generation, having the conversion from Battle Droids over to Battletech proper, they're not the easiest mechs. They're not the easiest mechs to pilot, to play, and figure out. And part of this, I believe, is baggage on when you entered the game and kind of what that formulating moment was. Just on a side note, if you followed my RPG podcasts, you know I love Dungeons and Dragons. You know I love advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That was my entry point into RPGs. My first adventures, my first character was a magic user. My first dragon fights, the first time I fought a lich, I spent years, literal life years, and I wouldn't trade them. Awesome. Playing Dragonlance. I passed the test of high sorcery. The Tower of High Sorcery. I passed that. This was when, if you were, you took the test at about level 3, unless you wanted to go gray robe and go rogue, having a 5th level magic user was a big deal in AD&D. So that was my entry point in. That has naturally made me biased against certain other aspects of D&D incarnations now, 3.x, 4, 5, and I like those versions, but I'll be the first to admit AD&D is really clunky with a lot of things. Even after all these years, I have to look up THAC0 and other things. So from the perspective of Battletech, what's really interesting is new players coming into the game. The 2 new starter sets have opened up so much, continue to open up so much, and I can only imagine once Catalyst kicks in the Kickstarter and gets it into retail, Battletech's just going to blow up incredibly. But all these players coming in from the newer current generation video games, their exposure, their experience to various mechs, those starting mechs, are vastly different than what I was brought into. I mean, Robotech, that's what you want to play on there, right? That was kind of the lead-in and the early technical manuals. So I struggled with this for a while, and the Warhammer is one of those mechs that, yes, absolutely, there's better mechs out there. But I play it a lot because it has history, and I find with a lot of my mechs, physically played many, many years playing these mechs, some of my miniatures for a long time, so many battles, just real time, we have to continue playing them on there. And I love the Warhammer. So tactically, okay, we break this down with the weapons. We're going to begin with the PPCs. It's got the range. It's got the bite. If we're talking Inner Sphere only, it has one of the highest brackets of damage versus range. Of course, you're dealing with heat. And on the Warhammer, much like the Marauder, heat's a major, major problem. A lot of mechs like the Battlemaster, I call this like the weapon on the way in. So naturally with a heavy mech, you have a variety of weapon systems. You have redundant weapon systems, meaning like 2 medium lasers. In the case of the Warhammer, 2 small lasers, 2 machine guns. We're talking, stock Warhammer on there. No variants yet. So you have all these weapons because you have the tonnage and the hard points to mount them. You want to get up there and utilize them. So on the way in, turn 1, nobody's in range, even if you're on a hex map, unless it's something mission specific. Unless you're in a warrior too. If you're piloting a warrior, turn 1, you're in range. But mech versus mech. Turn 1, you're moving up. Turn 2, we're in range, but my movement, your movement, hexes, I'm going to need 12s to hit. You're probably still going to shoot on there. So a lot of these mechs that have a long-range 10-pack or a 5-pack, or like the Battlemaster or PPC, or the Marauder or the Warhammer with the dual PPCs, I view that as my weapon on the way in. So I'm going to fire it as soon as we're in range. I mean, look, I could roll 12s. I could, right? I'd rather save those 12s for when you're rolling for hit locations, but, I'll take it on the hit, on the way in. A hit's a hit. depending on, this is hard to say. I can't say exactly, but depending on what's going on with the mission, we're layering over the mission. I'm layering over your mech or vehicle choices. I have to figure how fast, I have to estimate how long is it going to take for you to close to my Warhammer? So I might get away with shooting 2. Then I have a chance to cool down. But for the most part, it's like one move at range. Once we close now to medium laser range, this is where things get interesting really, really fast. And with a lot of the unseen, reseen, now seen mechs, you have to figure out the correct firing sequence on there. Or, look, you could be like me when I play my Stalker. I just mash the buttons on everything and we'll fire everything. I'll make that. I won't shut down. My ammo won't blow up on there most of the time. But with the Warhammer, I find this is the firing sequence. When I'm at range, I'll do PPC, maybe 2 PPCs, or PPC, break, PPC. When we get closer, I'm now, with the medium lasers, we'll do PPC 1 medium laser or 2 medium lasers. And then I want to close very, very quickly so I can do small laser, machine gun, medium laser, or SRM-6 on there. This idea of firing the brackets going down in range, I find the idea is at distance, if I can begin to open you up with the PPCs, and obviously it's easier to open you up if I'm a medium mech. If you're a light mech and I'm shooting at you, I don't mean this disrespectfully. I shouldn't be shooting at you on there. I should never be crippling your light mech, unless you're trying to bait me in or you give me a free shot. But I don't think you should be throwing your Spider or your Locust at my Warhammer on there. So I'm looking against a medium mech or a similar heavy mech. I'm looking to damage you in 1 or 2 places with those PPCs, start to punch through the armor, and then close where now I have literally 4, 5, or 6 potential weapon platforms, the medium lasers, the small lasers, the machine guns, the SRM-6, to cause an okay amount of damage, but literally try and hit you in spots and crit seek and hunt for those weak spots in you from there. The Warhammer wants to close and search for those weaknesses. The downside in doing that, though, is it's very easy to bite off more than you can chew, meaning I get surrounded. One of the things as a heavy mech or an assault mech, there are times when you find yourself surrounded and you can't necessarily withdraw because maybe the mission dictates you got to hold this point. Or maybe the mission dictates, look, I've got the mission objective, cash and grab, I've got the lost tech, I've got whatever. I'm pulling back, I'm getting out of there, and somebody's got to hold the field. Somebody's got to keep you at bay. Usually it's a battle master, especially if it's a mech that has rear lasers on there. That works. The Warhammer can certainly do that, but in doing that, to leverage the weapon systems, I want to be really close. I'm going to get stuck in. Like a lot of the unseen, reseen, now seen, the Warhammer, it doesn't have as much armor on there. Its legs are weaker in some spots on there in terms of armor. It's not as well developed armor and weapon-wise as, say, some of the later heavy mechs in Battletech in the tech manuals. It can take a lot of punishment. It's a heavy mech at the end of the day, but not as much punishment as you think. The other challenge here, of course, is ammo everywhere. And I understand players dump ammo. I've dumped ammo myself. I understand, do you really need to load up with all that machine gun ammo? Just load up with like 20 shots on there and start expending it, or dump it on there. But literally the thing is like just ammo everywhere with the machine guns and the missiles. You do leave yourself vulnerable to ammunition explosion. Not as much as, say, a mech that just has a long-range missile pack or just has machine guns. Although you'll see, like with the Battlemaster and the T-Bolt, they have the missiles, but they also have machine guns. A lot of the heavier mechs have machine guns also, so that's debatable on the use. The strength of the Warhammer in a well-rounded lance. It's not the best answer to every situation for certain deficiencies, and it's not a bad mech. It takes a lot of mastery. It takes a lot more real-time pilot hours to play. But when you don't really know what you're going to face, or you might have to have an answer for everything, the Warhammer does. You know, it's got the PPCs that you could push the heat, you could chain fire them, you could blast with both. That's got, you know, Inner Sphere Tech, Succession Era. That's got mad bite. It's got good bite. You have the ability to push out the medium lasers. You can go against infantry. You can go against vehicles on there. You know, just try to get motive hits, firing out the machine guns, the small lasers, and the medium lasers against certain class vehicles. I mean, damage is always nice, but it's more about scoring hits and scoring stacking hits to immobilize, you know, motive hits, mobilize the turret, get crits on there, punch through various aspects on it. The Warhammer has the ability to do that. You can engage a lot of different things. You can fight a lot of different things on there. Revisited a fun mech, an effective mech, but a more complicated mech than it seems. And in my opinion, before I turn this over to you guys in the comments, it's about, with all of the kind of early tech manual mechs in there, it's about learning those fire brackets, learning those fire groupings, sticking with it, and knowing, depending on how much you want to gamble and your player personality, and admittedly I tend to push things a little bit hotter than I should. I freely admit that. You don't want to take that tactical advice from me, or emulate that, I should say. Understanding that and knowing when to push it is vital and is key.